All right, today we're going to build a deer stand. I'm just going to build the platform part of it and put some braces on it on the bottom of it, not the actual sides. I went back and forth trying to figure out how am I going to build this tree stand all out of wood with some type of metal roof or shingled roof or something. And I was looking around online and I found this brochure. It's called a polydome, and it's all plastic, one piece that you just cut the doors and the windows in. But for their small one, that top center round one and 5-foot diameter, was like $350. And then you got to add the windows and the door. So I think I'm just going to build a platform on some 4x4s and put that on top of it and keep me out of the weather. Might be a little bit lighter and a little squirrel proof and mice proof if it's all one piece and not all wood, but we'll see how it goes. I thought it would be cheaper than buying one from somebody directly, but I don't know. I mean, I'm adding everything up. I got the brackets right there, easy tower brackets. By the time you pay for shipping and all, you're up over $130. And I got this wood. It's 2x6s and then some decking board and all those bolts, nuts, screws, lag bolts. And I think that was over $200, and that doesn't even count the big long 4x4 post it's gonna stand on, and then the cross bracing. So by the time you add the blind, $350 plus the windows and doors, you'll probably be up around $600–700. I'll probably be into it another $300 for wood, and then the brackets. So I'll be close to $1,000 in my time just making it. So there might be some blinds out there that are around that price, and they just drop it off right to you with the stand and everything. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, or even if it'll be worth it. But I'm going to cut this together. I'm going to make it 6x6 square because the blind's going to be a 5-foot diameter, and I'm hoping to get it 16 foot up off the ground because I think I can get some 4x4 posts that are 16 foot tall. So it'll be pretty high up there, and that'll be nice. And the decking board, like I said, instead of putting a sheet of plywood for the floor, I'm going to use decking board because it's not going to be fully enclosed. It's actually just going to be a platform with that dome sitting on top of it. So I'm thinking a piece of plywood might start buckling and all, so I'm going to actually use these decking boards right here. So I'm actually making a 6x6 deck with brackets on it. But I'm going to cut this, I'm going to get everything lined up, bring it over to the saw, cut it all up, and I'll show you how it goes. Alright, so there's my square. Not bad. A 6x6. And it's just put together with just the screws, the decking screws. But here's your brackets. And you turn these upside down, and then you mark your holes and stick bolts through there with lock washers. But I don't like how it's only one 2x6. So I'm going to take these scraps that I got here, and I think what I'm going to do is slide these on the inside like that, one there and one here, to give those corners more meat to bite onto with those lag bolts. So the long ones, it doesn't look like I have to cut, but I'm going to have to fit little pieces in on the smaller sides all the way around. So let me do that, and then after I do it, then I'll mark my holes and drill through 2 pieces of wood both ways, and then stick all my bolts through it. Okay, so here it is after I put all the braces, the extra bracing on the inside, more wood. Now that's a lot of screws. I put 6 screws on each one, on each corner, and they're pretty long. They're pretty long screws. They're 2.5 inch deck screws. So make sure you got some kind of impact driver to put those in. Man, that really helped trying to drive all those screws. That was a lot of them. All right, so this is all done. That looks okay. This is actually the top, so I think I have to flip it over because I got all the corners nice and flat and level, and on the bottoms might be a little bit different. So I'm gonna flip it over and then drill my brackets on the other side. So here's something interesting. I just drilled my 2 holes, banged those in. And this one goes in fine. But the design here, because I put 2 pieces of wood on it, when you put this bolt through and then try to put this bolt through, the 2 close ones, look what happens on the other side. That bolt is pinned up against this wood, and then this bolt would actually hit that other bolt. So we have to figure out what the heck to do here. Alright, well here's what I figured out. This bolt can go through normally and put all that on. The 2 outside ones are fine. But those 2 inside ones that hit each other, I have to push the head in from inside, and then the bolts are actually gonna have to stick out on the outside because there's no way to get a washer. I can't even get a washer on without it scraping. That's how close it is. Now this bolt coming in on this way, this one, it's not even gonna be able to go in because it's gonna hit the head of that one coming in. So I think this is just going to have to be a lag bolt on that one. So 3 bolts, 2 outsides okay, 1 inside one has to go backwards to be able to get it on there, and a lag bolt. Otherwise I'd have to drill a new hole into the bracket, maybe have it come out right here. I might actually do that if I have enough something to bite onto. Yeah, so this hole, it's too close to the right. It lines up right here. If I can drill it here, it'd be better. All right, the legs are all on, but of course they're only on with the outer bolts on all corners. Those inner bolts were too close, so instead of making bolts with lock washers and nuts, I think instead of drilling new holes I don't know if that would mess with the integrity of the bracket, so I think I'm just going to put lag bolts on the inner holes. So that's 3 inches. So I'll just get like 2.5 inch lag bolts on the inner screws, or the inner holes, instead of trying to make them hit or reverse the bolts or something. So every corner has nice bolts and lock washers, and they'll have one set of lag bolts on the inner ones. That way I don't have to worry about anything hitting. Now this is kind of messed up because I already drilled the holes through. So maybe I will put one bolt through there, reversed direction, because the hole's already there. Darn it. Some things nobody tells you. You know, you just learn by doing it. But who would have guessed that the inner bolts would have hit? All right, let's try something else. Alright, so here it is. The whole frame's done. The outer bolts are actually bolts with nuts and lock washers on the back, but the inner ones, I made those lag bolts, and I put in some legs and lag bolted them in just for when I flip it over and play with it, I don't bend up my bracket, so I don't want that to happen. So it's all done, and I actually put an extra lag bolt on all my extra wood pieces all the way around, because it was just in with regular screws. So you can see I just put some lag bolts and washers on those too, right there, all the way around, just so it's not held together with just regular screws. But all the bracing's done. The only problem was this very first leg. What a disaster. I'm going to have to do some more work on this, because of course I pre-drilled this first hole, so this lag bolt has nothing to drill, nothing to bite onto right there. And I started to drill a new hole so I can get this lag bolt and actually make it bite some wood. But of course, the stupid drill bits can't drill through the stuff. I just dulled 2 brand new drill bits, and I was using oil and going slow. Drill bits suck. And I actually did it on this side. Now here's the lag bolt, which is biting nothing. It's not grabbing anything. I just stuck it in there. And I did drill a new hole. I got the hole drilled, but of course, right where I drilled the stinking hole, there's a screw head right there, one of my screws. So I drilled right into a screw head, and I can't get it out. So I have to figure something out here, because right now it's only being held on by 2 bolts. So I'm going to flip it over and put the decking on, and I'll have to come back to this corner right here and figure out what the heck to do with this corner. All I had extra was all these bolts that wouldn't fit because of the inside corners. So I got that left over, and then I've got 1 deck board and 1 2x6, and I only bought those extra in case I messed something up. But if it wasn't for those stinking bolts not fitting in those corners, I would have been good. Well, that's what it looks like. I just put those 4x4s on the bottom just so it can stand on something. So this will be part 1, and I'll come back with part 2. And part 2, it should have something on top maybe with the long legs and braces for the legs. So hopefully in part 2, I'll be standing this sucker up and getting it all set up here. But it is heavy. I can barely move that thing now. It was hard enough without the deck boards, but now that that's on there, it's definitely going to take 2 people just to move this thing. All right, so that's the finished product. All I have to do now is go around where all the papers are and staples, pull out all the staples from the lumber, especially this side, all this orange tags and staples. I got to pull them all out, but my solution over here to this first bracket, I already pre-drilled those holes through the wood and the bolts wouldn't fit, so I actually did drill holes in the metal right beside it and put a lag bolt in on this one corner. So that was my solution to that, but all the other ones are fine. Nuts and bolts on the outers, lag bolts on the inners, and the extra lag bolts in the wood wherever I doubled them up all around. And it's 6x6, and I gave it a little overhang, like a half inch overhang all the way around, protection from the water dripping down on top of it or something, I don't know. But there it is, really sturdy and heavy. I can't even lift one end of this thing. I would have to use 2 hands and lift up, but it is heavy. Okay.